One thing we want to avoid when planting trees is planting a non-native tree that could become invasive. A lot of the trees that are invasive in our woodlands now are trees that either had good flowers or are pretty, and they grew well in a different country or a different part of the United States, so people brought them over here, and then they didn't have any natural predators in our ecosystem, so they were able to spread as fast as they wanted. We chose these native trees because they offer a lot of good habitat, and then whether it be nuts, berries, fruits, or good flower and nectaring sources for pollinators.
For this particular species of tree, which is a sugar maple, we have chosen this site for a lot of different reasons. There are some trees directly in front of me that will cast a little bit of shade on this area, and we know that different species like different amounts of sunlight. This particular species of sugar maple can do well with some shade, and then a lot of times in the industry we refer to the roots as feet. So different species like dry feet, different species like wet feet, and some species like a little bit of a mixture of both. Since we are in the Skunk River floodplain right here, we can expect the soil to hold a pretty high content of moisture or water. So we've chosen this species again because it can deal with having some wet feet or roots every once in a while. So the rule of thumb that I follow is I want the hole to be twice as wide at the top as the container is wide, and I want it to be twice as deep. It gives those roots of that tree, once they start to grow, some softer soil to expand out into. So we've got the hole roughly twice as wide and twice as deep as what our container is. So what we're going to do now is put some of that nice soft broke up dirt that we pulled out back in. And again, that's just nice soft material for those roots to more easily expand into. And we're going to pack it down just a little bit to make sure that there aren't any air pockets in there. We can go ahead and take the wrapping off the tree. Set the tree in. So here the top of the soil ball is just above the ground around it. If you were to draw a straight line from each side, the top of the hole, it would hit about here. What we want to make sure we don't do is plant the tree so that it's the low spot, because we do not want water to be able to sit on this. Some people call it a crown, some people call it a bud point or a flare, but it's where the trunk comes down and you see that it starts to get a little bit wider, and that's where your roots start. We don't want water to be able to sit on that right there. This needs to be above the water level. So that's why we want the tree to be planted as the high spot. We don't want the roots to grow in a circle. We want to loosen them out so they can, if you imagine the roots as arms, we want the arms to be able to go out and get wide. So now we can make sure that it's standing relatively straight. That look okay? Yeah, all right. Then we can fill in around the edges. just use your hands to put a little bit of pressure on the soil that you've filled in. And if your hand sinks really deep with light pressure, then you need to add just a little bit more. That's pretty good. So we've got a pile of hardwood mulch here. We want it to be 2 to 3 inches thick, and that's going to do a couple things. First thing it's going to do is it's going to keep weed growth from coming up right around the tree's trunk and directly competing with it. And the second thing it's going to do is it's going to help retain moisture around that tree, which obviously will help the root system not dry out while it's kind of establishing itself on this site. That's pretty good, but one of the things we want to pay attention to is that the base of that trunk, we don't want mulch contacting it, for the same reason that we don't want this part to be the low spot to where water could puddle. We don't want mulch up against it either, which could put moisture right in that area because it could actually rot the tree out. So we're gonna almost make it like a donut, just making sure to keep that mulch away from the bud point right there. And then we can water. We know that we're putting this tree into some pretty moist soil already. So right now we're just trying to put enough around the tree to wet down the mulch.